I'm not a veteran player, but I know how to read patch notes.
You need 2,000 hours before you're allowed an opinion. Get back in your box.
Not everyone was like that, but I had ended up, because people had said that, I was like, I'm going to watch other people's videos and see their reactions to it or their streams or whatever. And honestly, I was really excited to interview you, because I thought that your reaction was the only one that was actually professional and made sense. And everybody else just like got to that line and just like read essentially, or like just got really upset rather. And I was just like, so anyway. My first question is, as a longtime player who has actually done challenge mode fractals, what is the big deal with the mystic coins? Other than your reaction to the blog post, why would people be as upset as they are and want to quit the game over it?
Okay,
that's my first...
I think so part of it is the fact that they did it, and I think part of it is the fact of how they presented it. There was 2 blog posts. There was the one that was like a few days ago, and then there was another that was yesterday that had like clarifications and trying to like put out fires. The first blog post, they said something along the lines of, a majority of the income for Mystic Coins comes from challenge mode fractals. Like, there was something along those lines that was in there. I might not have it word for word before the grammar Nazis come after me or something, but it was something along those lines. And then they also, in that same post, they said, all right, so we're reducing that to 0. And then so everyone's like, wait, what? So like most of the income of coins is coming from here, and you're completely deleting that. So I think that was, there was a lot of people kind of scared about that. You know what? Hold on. If we wait a second here, I will get the exact wording. I should have had this pulled up, but I'm new to streaming. I haven't been doing this for very long, so preparation is new to me.
So
yeah. Okay. So here we go. So let's see. Currently, challenge mode fractals are one of the largest single sources for mystic coins entering our economy. So they said that in a post where they then removed them all and reduced it to 0. So I think a lot of people freaked out. Like, where's all the mystic coins going to come from?
Right.
And then I think that just fanned the flames. And then in the follow-up post later on, they proceeded to say, let me see. In reality, 93% of mystic coins come from login rewards. And then they said the remaining 7% come from Leyline Anomaly, World v World Chest, Fractal Daily Chest, Mystic Fortress Daily Mission, and Fractal CMs. And of those, Fractal CMs are one of the smaller sources. So essentially, I think it was one heck of a mistake in, someone who wrote the blog post or someone who gathered the data or something like that. Because literally, in terms of that sentence, the second blog post says the complete opposite of the first one.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and
as far as like why
but...
people were freaking out, people doing CM fractals, we occasionally get a mystic coin added to our loot, and it's nice when it happens, but like they said in the post, it's a rare thing. It's a piece of candy when it happens, and then that's it. But they said like, oh yeah, most of the ones coming to the economy is from this, and I think we all just took that as fact, and then they said they're removing them, and then panic.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I don't know, how do you feel about people saying that that's something that they would want to quit the game over because of mistrust with ArenaNet so far? Like, I can see you being upset about something that happens in a game and wanting to take a break or quit, but it seems like the way that a lot of people are saying it, and I don't know if you've seen these posts, is kind of like very, very rude. It's not even like, oh, I don't have an interest in the game anymore, like, uninstall. But it's more of like, I'm not playing the game anymore. I am so mad, and I don't know. I just keep seeing these things and seeing that it's a little bit inappropriate, but maybe it's just me.
So you mentioned posts, so I'm assuming you mean on the subreddit.
Well, there's the Reddit, Twitter. People have joked about it in Twitch chats, but mainly like on the Twitter, and people have tagged Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet as well, which I...
Gotcha. Okay, so I am, following them and stuff on Twitter. I guess I just happen to not have seen any of those. I actively avoid the Reddit unless I've got something just really, really good that I think will survive there. Then I'll go there and post it, and then I'll duck and cover.
Yeah.
I don't go there often. I mentioned this to you in previous podcasts, but I'll just quickly gloss over it for people who haven't seen those. I have come to the conclusion that I don't believe that the noisy part of the community on Reddit represents the whole community of Guild Wars 2.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
Like, I could put something on the subreddit and it could be downvoted 3,000 times, and I could post that out to YouTube and it get 400,000 views and 99% upvote. Like, it very much feels like there's an angry minority over there. Mm-hmm. Now, I really quickly here, because I always immediately get like, well, I like art. There's a lot of fine artists and stuff like that over there too. I'm not talking about those, but there's very much, if there's a spark, it very much feeds off itself, and a lot of people just keep posting negative stuff. Now you asked me, like, how do I feel about the people posting like, oh, I'm gonna quit the game. I'm sorry to be savage here for a second. No one cares. So like, I would say like, if you think about it, in any walk of life, if there's someone who's like really angry and they suddenly scream, well, I'm quitting basketball, baseball, whatever, like, no one cares. It's like they're trying to get one more moment in the spotlight on the way out.
Right.
Like, that's kind of mean to say.
I don't think so. I want to comment on it, like, especially because I'm unsure sometimes what things we can say to, or what we can get away with having the extra responsibility with, ArenaNet that we do. And so I'm just like, is it okay for me to respond to these and be like, can I have your current Mystic coins and your gold? Like,
I was waiting until you took a breath. There's people in my chat saying, can I have their stuff?
Yeah. So and I wanted to get someone else, because obviously if you don't want to play a game anymore, for me, you don't even have to have a reason, just don't play the game. But why are you posting it on a public format, being a jerk about it? So that was...
I would 100% agree with that statement, because like the whole point of playing, we forget this sometimes, is the whole point of playing a game is to have fun.
Right.
And I think us as content creators are maybe arguably the only people that step outside of that, because we're also trying to pay our bills. But like the 99.9%, they're playing a game to have fun, and it's like, if it's not fun for you anymore, it's okay to step away and try something else.
Right.
Like, even I have to take breaks occasionally. It's like, I spend like half my gaming time trying other things, but that's completely okay. Yeah. You get some people on the Reddit, wait, here's a good example. I've got some of my videos that are basically just trying to sell Guild Wars 2. I get someone in the comments, they're like, don't listen to this guy. This game is crap. I tried it. He's wrong. I've done every raid. I've done every fractal. I've put 6,000 hours into this game, and it's grit. And I'm like, buddy, it sounds like you beat the game. I mean, you could... you got 6,000 hours out of it. That's good. Try something else. You know how many people play one game for 6,000 hours? Let's try another thing.
That's actually incredible, because I actually had someone in chat, a little bit off topic, but that was like, can you check your /age? And I'm like, yeah. And it was legitimately like just over 600 hours. So that's like 6,000 compared to that is... Maybe I am too new. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But a lot of...
I would argue, though, like, and maybe this is sugarcoating a little bit, but like, I know you have a background in other MMOs.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't your first MMO. Like, even just coming into this game from another MMO, like, just knowing, like, basic WASD, what talents are, traits are, specializations, you could probably wrap your head around that on day one. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, you might not understand, the finer details of how the Mystic coins are going to affect the Chinese economy and the exchange rate with the but you've got probably like most of it.
Yeah. Which is actually funny that you say that, especially with WASD, because I don't know if you've looked at Lost Ark yet, or if you're planning on it, but I've never played an ARPG. And it was really hard for me to get the moving with my mouse, and I still hit WASD, which is actually your attacks, because I'm thinking I'm moving, and there's all of these NPCs that I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to attack you. But but anyway, a lot of people have been saying that with the implementation of strikes as well and the mystic coins going over to them, that they think that challenge mode fractals are going to die out regardless of the loot that they still give. Did you have any insight on that as well? Or I mean,
Okay.
are you still going to do them?
So sometimes. So you said that you had not done challenge mode fractals.
Not
So let me go over a couple of the rewards. There is one. When you do challenge mode fractals, you frequently get a common loot called a fractal encryption box. These things drop like all over the place, just tons of them. And then when you finish the daily fractals, you'll get a handful, like a random number of keys. And it's similar to the relationship with a blackline key and a blackline box. You know, the box is way more common.
Okay.
So you use the keys on the box, and it sometimes gives you another key, but then it'll also spit out a bunch of gray items. The gray items from these boxes will sell for like, 5, 10, 15, 50 silver. So you finish fractals, and, let's say you open all your daily boxes, you get 20 keys. You open 20 boxes, maybe you get 3 more. Open those, you get 23 boxes of loot. You go over to the vendor, you hit sell all junk. You get like 5 to 20 gold. Okay, so that is all. So they are one of the now. Like, let's say you're in a group that just goes in, you play. Each day you get together and you just go in. You're like, all right, what are the dailies? This one, and this one, and you just knock each of them out in 15 minutes. That's a lot of gold for the time spent. Plus the fact that tier 4 fractals are one of the ascended gear just drops in there constantly.
Okay.
It's a source. It's a rough way to get your first set of ascended gear because you need agony resistance to do them. But your second through 50th set of ascended gear, it's a great place for farming that for your other characters, and it's incredible gold per hour. There's also a title in the game. There's like Fractal Prodigy, Fractal Associate, Fractal Middle Management. It goes all the way up to Fractal God.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
But they are account upgrades. Basically, every character on your account gets stronger in many different ways in fractals for every one of these upgrades that you purchase. It is purchased with currencies you get from doing fractal dailies, fractal recs, which is short for recommended. There's a difference between recommended fractals and daily fractals, and the challenge modes. So by doing the challenge modes, you're making a lot of gold. You're getting ascended gear if your account needs any more of it. And you're also getting resources to creep toward Fractal God. Now, Fractal, not many people do that because you would have to do the dailies, the recs, and the challenge modes every day for over a year. Like for over 365 days of doing that. Right. So it's kind of a nice little thing to whisper in the back of your own mind. Like, I didn't get anything crazy today, but I'm a little closer to Fractal God. But you're still like really far away. But there's still plenty of reasons to go there, I think. And in the second, did you happen to read the second blog post about all the stuff?
Yeah. I actually read it on stream.
So yesterday, a couple days ago, I did fractal dailies. I got some keys. I opened up some boxes. Also on the vendor, there's a deal there that's there every day where you can buy deeply discounted keys, and you're only allowed to buy 30 a day. Okay. And you buy 30 keys. So let's say you looted, you've got at least 30 of more of those boxes you can loot. Buy some of the deeply discounted keys, open the boxes, and there's a bunch more gray items to hit sell junk on. So the other day, I did the tier 4 dailies and the challenge modes, which is a total of 6 fractals, which include the 3 CMs that we're talking about. And I made like 30 gold. And that was in less than an hour. Now, are there places in the game where you can make 30 gold in an hour? Yes, but that's not what I was trying to do. I was just doing fractals. I was just having fun.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't think it's going to be dead content. According to the math that Solaire put up in that second blog post, you could say that I got 30 gold, but I could have gotten 32.7 if not for his devastating nerf.
Right.
Okay. It's a small bummer I missed out on that. But I don't think that fractals are dead. I have some grievances with how they're handled this, but to stay on topic with your current question, no, I don't think fractals are dead.
So let's move into your grievances then. Since you brought them up, what are your grievances?
All right, those motherfuckers. Okay, so basically, I have 2. In the first post that they did, I already touched on this one. They said that, quote, challenge mode fractals are one of the largest single sources of mystic coins entering our economy. And then in the second post, they said, oh, actually, Fractal CMs are one of the smaller sources. They're just really not played by a lot of players relative to others. Then why are we doing this? Okay, yeah. So that's my first thing, is like, okay, then the muckety why? All right, so that's one of them. The other thing is there was a line that can be interpreted many ways in the first blog post that said, we want to spread the love to other types of content. That means no single source should award such high amount of legendary resources. And then what did they do? After saying that line, they took 100% of the coins, which are the resources we're talking about from fractals, and they moved 100% of those coins to strikes.
Yep.
And now there's a single...
That was the only thing I had an issue with, too. It was just that wording. And I was like, I understand, because that's going to be their new content, and they want to push it.
Right.
But I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but that was like my only, I think that was my only qualm, was that.
A lot of people commented like, well, no, Muck, they weren't talking about the coins, they were talking about the clovers. Well, the clovers, what they did is they put mystic clovers onto strength, fractal, and raid merchants. They're divided among them. And if you bought all the clovers you're allowed to buy each week, you could buy 20 clovers in a week, which is a pretty good deal. However, each clover will now cost 2 mystic coins among a whole bunch of other stuff. But the biggest thing here is there's 2 mystic coins cost per clover, which means to buy the 25 clovers that they're so generously giving us, it would cost you 50 coins per week. And if you're getting 10 coins a week from strikes, you could afford 5 clovers a week. And granted, if you did the ley line anomaly every single day and all your dailies and stuff like that, there'd be a few more. But it's I feel like the way they wrote it, a lot of people are going to be under the misconception, like, oh, I need 77 clovers for this legendary. I get 25 a week. That's just over 3 weeks. Like, it's not. It was a little misleading the way it was written, and I got beef with that. I got a little bit of beef with that. I don't think fractals are dead. I don't think this is going to ruin the Mystic Coin economy. I just really, they said they wanted to spread the love to other types of content. Had it been me, I would envision something like the following. Like right this second, the nerf hasn't hit yet. Fractal challenge mode bosses drop between 0 and 3 coins. There's multiple bosses in each of those fractals. There's a first, second, and third boss in most of them. What if just the final boss dropped, I don't know, 0 to 2 coins? Just the final one. And then raids 2. Maybe the final boss of each raid wing. Most raids have like 3 to 4 bosses in a raid wing. The final boss could drop 0 to 2 coins. And then also you could do your strike vendor stuff. That, to me, would be spreading the love. What they did, I feel like they monopolized the love. I felt no love getting spread around. Absolutely.
And again, I kind of... I get why, just for the business aspect, but just the way it was worded and how... And I almost feel like it had something to do with, oh, we're going to give you these really cute little jade bots, and we're going to distract you with the masteries, and then we're going to give you this blog post, and we're going to just slide that right in there after we just gave you something cute. The Griffin plushie, everything like that. But a lot of people, so the Griffin plushie is really cute, by the way. Like, that's one thing that I really want. But I had a lot of people, when I was talking about it in my chat, and I pretty much said the same thing that you just did, especially about the whole spreading the love thing, and that was my only issue. And someone had said, well, you're missing the big picture. It's that it's being taken from challenging content and giving to entry-level content. So what do you think about that comment? Because I actually like the accessibility that they're trying to give to things, and I don't necessarily think that they're just casting aside these people.
For the sake of conversation, let's assume that clearly well-spoken individual is 100% correct.
Sure.
Okay, so let's say that no more CM coins in there, and now there's coins in strikes, and more people are doing strikes, and the amount of coins coming into the economy is increased. I think the price, now that we have hard numbers, Because when the first blog post came out, I don't know if you know, the price of Mystic Coins actually spiked. It went from 1.7 each to like 2.3 each.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people in my chat are like, I made so much money selling at 2.3, like it was freaking Bitcoin or something.
But doesn't it also increase before an expansion anyway? A lot of times, like I know it could possibly correlate with the blog post, and I don't know if
maybe because people are most people are probably safely assuming that if they want to make those Gen 3 legendaries, even though we don't technically know what's required in them because of Gen 1 and Gen 2, they're like, oh, hoarding coins, I can make legendaries right away, blah 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 blah. But because now we have data that 93% of coins come from just daily login rewards. And if you think about it, that's, every person who bought the game who doesn't even know what a Mystic Coin is, they are slowly generating them. They don't even realize it. That's going to vastly outnumber the people doing CM Fractals Strikes or whatever. So let's say instead of 93% coming from daily login rewards, it goes all the way down to 90, which I think would be, I don't even think it's going to do that. Maybe the price would go from 1.7 to 1.65 or something. And it's like, okay, will the coins possibly be more accessible to people? Sure. Will the average player find making legendary crafting slightly more accessible? Maybe. Is that a bad thing? I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I don't think I mind that. It would be different. Okay, let's say this was the kind of game. I'm gonna quickly use World of Warcraft as an example.
Sure.
In World of Warcraft, if you were the top 0.1% of the PvPers at the end of a PvP season, you got a mount that no one else got. It was like a show-offy thing, and usually it was just like a color palette change, But like it's like this is the reigns of the victorious gladiators Drake or something like that. They always had a paragraph long friggin' thing. But if it was like hey, this thing that previously was the prize of a tournament is now given to everyone on their 30th login day. That would be, I think, kind of a slap in the face. This, legendaries were always available to people, and I'm as a guide maker, I'm constantly telling people that. It's just a lot of them didn't know how to go about doing it. Now, if it's 10%, and I think that's generous. If it's 10% easier, okay. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's a huge problem.
I don't either.
And again, that's assuming that the person who left you the very nice comment was correct. That was all built on top of that. But even if they were, I don't think that's a big deal. I don't mind it. I don't mind that.
Yeah. And a lot of people, or actually that person included, were saying, and I've seen like even Snub was talking about it, how he hopes that people don't leave, and everybody was saying that it's like the top 1% or something that does challenge mode fractals, and that and that top 1% might be like feel like this is actually an attack to them and the competitive people that play Guild Wars 2, and that those people will leave and not make guides anymore. Do you think, can you use your Muck prediction ball and predict that for me?
Oh, do I have a prediction ball now?
You should.
Araloza, draw me up a prediction ball. Okay, so I did see Sneb. I am following Sneb on Twitter. I think I'm following him on Twitter. I did see that. I saw that tweet. He said something along the lines of, I see a lot of people quitting. Maybe it's because I don't frequent the Reddit. I don't know the name of a single person who's quitting, first of all. I don't know the name of any of them. And if you tell me it's Grimjack, he says he's quitting every 3 weeks, so I wouldn't even believe that anyway. Yeah, that's right, Grimjack, I called you out. And then he made the comment about, oh, if we lose these people that, make guides and stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. Even, the top reply to that, and I feel like I shouldn't agree with this guy because I am a guide maker, but the top reply to that is like, do you think we're all just going to be like helpless baby penguins if there's no one here to hold our hand? Like, it's like, honestly, if every guide maker suddenly quit, you know what would happen? There would be an opening for new people to take those slots. Yes, it is absolutely true that Snow Crows has some crazy math wizards that can figure out the optimal buttons to press in a row on a Hollowsmith to do the highest mathematically possible damage per second. It is also true that you can do half of whatever that number is and clear all the content in the game. Because none of the content is that hard. And really quickly here, I'm not demeaning the struggles of anyone here struggling in any content. What I mean by that is like to compare to World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft has like normal raids, heroic raids, mythic raids, and looking for raid is down here on the floor somewhere. But the heroic raids in WoW is about on par with the challenge mode raids in Guild Wars 2, and that's fine. They're still fun. There's flexibility. You can do creative builds and stuff like that. I think that's about right. But the mythic raids in WoW you left fun at the door. You showed up at 8 a.m. or someone else gets your slot, and we just keep doing this. And it was like everyone, they were designed to where you had to do the highest mathematically possible damage in order to kill this boss, because at the 10-minute mark the boss would like fart and everyone instantly dies, and their game was uninstalled, and then they had to take a break to reinstall their games, and it was insane. So I think it's okay. One, obviously I'm not hoping any of these people quit or anything like that. But two, even if Sneb was correct, and even if they did, that would be unfortunate. I think it's sad to see someone lose their love in something they were passionate about, unless they were like a serial killer or something like that, obviously. But I think the community as a whole would be okay. Right. I think they'd be okay. I think I rambled for a bit there. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And actually, while we're on that topic of the accessibility for all of the legendaries and being able to complete the content in a certain manner without possibly having as much skill as other people, what do you think about the way they're going? I know it's off topic from the Mystic Coins, but it's still on the blog post. The strikes actually having the checkpoints for mechanics, and the team trying to focus on not stacking and healing. I'm sure people will figure out how to do that, but how do you feel about that, especially on entry-level content?
Okay, so that was clearly a stab at Bone Skinner. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm going to just TLDR this. Bone Skinner is a boss. He has a mechanic where the room fills with darkness. You take damage while you're in the darkness. It stings. There are some braziers. I learned recently it's not braziers. There are some braziers that are around the edges, and you have to light the fire, which pushes the darkness back, and then he gets weaker and you stop taking so much damage. However, I've killed that boss probably 200 times. I've never been able to do it the correct way. Because what usually happens is we're like, okay, he extinguished the braziers, everyone light, and you're supposed to fan out and light them and then converge back together. What usually happens is someone runs off, and he runs off into the dark, dead. Like, the person runs off into the darkness to light the brazier and just dies from the darkness, instantly. I've never seen the correct way ever done. So what the community found was easier was just all stack up close together and heal really hard. And that's it. And the thing was, to take the side of the community here for a second, Guild Wars 2 has had a year to make any changes they wanted to if they didn't want us to do that. They opted not to do that. So it's up to them if they want us to not do Bone Skinner like that. They could make him invulnerable if there's not at least one torchlight. It would be so easy to do some kind of little tweak that would do the rules. But they don't do that. So it's very clearly a stab at that. They also said on that Reddit post, it was way further down in the comments, but I was just searching for anything Solaire posted. He said the challenge mode strikes, which there were 4, are actually already ready to go. However, what they want to do is just release the normal ones and see if we figure out any cheesy ways to break them, and then fix those before they release the CMs.
Oh, that's actually a really good thing.
Yeah, so and I got no problems with that. I think that's good. Honestly, I think it's smart as a company to kind of pace the content a little bit, because then you would always have the people that are very experienced at the game, the teapots, the wooden potatoes, that with an experienced group day one, they're like, normal mode? No, let's just start challenge mode. They just skip normal, go to challenge, they figure it out, and they complete it, and then they run the risk of those people being bored. Now, obviously, don't drag it out too long, or the people will just, they'll leave you. But if they can pace it out a little bit, I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really good way to go about it. I missed that part, actually, but that's actually really good, especially with, how buggy the core game still is. And they're just like, yeah, we know. We know you guys are complaining, too. And then speaking of the challenge modes for the strikes, I know that in the original post they were talking about they haven't yet, again, I don't know if this is the actual, wording that they use, chat. I'm sorry, because it's pretty far off.
Prepare to be judged
Yeah,
harshly.
I know.
Choose your words carefully.
They didn't post what the rewards for the challenge modes would be because they're not ready yet because they're doing this with normal. So do you think...
There was one thing. They mentioned that challenge mode strikes would have LIs. Do you know about those?
I do, yes.
Okay. So yeah, so for anyone who hasn't heard, there will be, the first time each week you do each of the CM strikes, you will get one LI. So that's 4 LI from doing all of them.
And do you think they will eventually, to possibly alleviate the Mystic Coin situation, add it to the challenge mode strikes? Like, would you foresee that as a correction or something like that, or to alleviate the pressure?
I'm honestly not sure. So right this second, the way the game is set up, that is when you do a challenge mode raid, which is the closest thing I have to compare it to, the first time you kill a challenge mode raid boss, like that specific boss, you'll get an achievement. And the loot is tied to the achievement, which means you only get it once. And so you get this achievement, it'll be like, Cairn's box of goods. And you open it, and there is 50 of those platters that feed the whole raid. There's a bunch of runes, a bunch of sigils, but there's enough stuff that if you just put it all in the trading post, it's 50 gold worth of stuff and your choice of an ascended item that from that boss's loot table. So it'll have a fancy graphic unique to that boss, and it will also be whatever, ascended staff, ascended axe, whatever. But then the second and onward time that you kill that boss in challenge mode, you get nothing special. It's you do all the extra work for challenge mode, and there's no extra loot at all, which I think is bogus, because it's there's no incentive. Right. And recently, in the last year, they made an achievement that's if you do 5 challenge mode raid bosses in a week, you get a couple gold or something like that. It's just okay, well, that's better than the nothing before, but it's it's a very big step up in difficulty for some of the challenge modes, and it's unless you just have unless you're just a total masochist, most people are I've done it once, I'm out.
Right.
It's not nearly carrot on a stick enough to get you back in there. So I'm not sure how they're going to do it. I would assume there might be some rare ascended drops on the loot table. We've got world bosses that have Tequatl can drop an ascended weapon. It's just super insanely rare.
Right.
Drakkar can as well. So it would not surprise me at all if there's some ascended stuff on the loot table for a challenge mode strike boss, but I don't know what kind of rarity we're talking, because you could do a raid night where you do a whole bunch of raid bosses, and you might walk out with between 0 and 3 ascended weapons just from the loot. But Tequatl, you could do Tequatl 300 times and never get it. So I don't know which side of that they're going to be on.
And speaking of the challenge mode raids being so much tougher, I was really hoping that when they said spread the love and they were talking about raids a little bit, that meant that they were hinting at possibly one at the end of the story for End of Dragons. I was really, really hoping, but I don't know if it's just going to continue to be quote unquote dead for what people have. And that actually so leads me into my next topic, because a lot of people think that with the changes for the Mystic Coins and they're shifting gears toward strikes because that's their main endgame PvE feature in End of Dragons, that they're not going to release any more fractals.
I think it is completely rational to think that. And the reason I think that is, I love Guild Wars 2 as a game. I love, what ArenaNet has made for us as a company, and all the people I've talked to over there has been wonderful. This is not a personal attack, and now that the sugar is out of the way, they have a tendency to make something, dungeons, and then try something new, fractals, and never look back again.
Right.
Okay, so Raidwing 7, which is the one with Kadim, what was it, the Key of Arashim or something like that, that came out 2 or 3 years ago. We haven't got any raids since then. World v World, the last time they added a new zone to World v World was when it was either when Heart of Thorns or Path of Fire first came out. It was attached to an expansion, and I wasn't an active player at that time, so chat can tell me which one it was. Okay, I have someone screaming Path of Fire in the chat, so I'm assuming they're correct. And then, PvP, I don't know when the last PvP map was added, so usually PvP, of course, is just updated with, balance patches, stuff like that. Hey, is it your bedtime? Okay, well, I'm talking to her, so I'm gonna keep talking to her. You can stand there and be awkward though if you want to. Okay, fantastic. All right, so okay, dude. Oh yeah, there goes my train of thought. Oh, dragon response missions. Now, I didn't have a huge love for those, so I don't mind. But I mean, if you think about it, dungeons, fractals, and DRMs are all just they're just 5-man instances. They could have literally they could have freaking called them all the same thing, you know. And that strikes and raids, they're both 10-mans.
Yeah,
They're both 10-man instances. So if Strike CM is suitably challenging to where the people that like raids are like, yeah, all right, this is all right, then it's just raids by another name, you know. At that point, I think we're just putting a new coat of paint on it to get people in the door. And I don't hate the approach. Even as a content creator, you know, sometimes if I see an opportunity to where I make a new guide, but I can reference an old video and also get views over there at the same time, it just makes sense. I'll
right.
take that opportunity if I can. So I think what they're trying to do is like, okay, you know, come little people who are too scared to raid. Here's a strike mission on an easy mode. Oh, but look, you've learned half the mechanics. Now you could try hard mode. Oh, hey, if you handled that, let me introduce you to Doom. You know, and then they just slide you on over. I think that's what they're going for.
Right.
Is they're trying to use it as an elevator to then get more people to play the stuff they've already made before. And again, I don't hate it as a business decision, but I also find no fault in the people who are worried about them abandoning an old form of content because they've done it before.
Mm-hmm. And with all of that and trying to get people to be excited about all of that endgame PvE content, do you think that the changes to the boons will help, having like the 10-man and switch to like, what is it, 10-man alack? And yeah.
Yes,
so
I know
what
you're referring to.
And do you think it'll help?
So right this second, you know, your standard raid group is 10 people. And what you want in that raid is everybody to have all boons all the time.
Right.
Okay? So 25 stacks of might is very important. That's a massive damage boost. Quickness makes your cast bars go faster. Alacrity makes all your cooldowns come up faster, so that's more damage, more healing, and I'm getting ganked again. Are you going to bed? Okay, come here. Love you. All right. Sweet dreams. Okay. I need my neck for things. Thank you. Okay. So, so quickness, alacrity, 25 stacks of might. There's a few others. Protection, regen, all nice to have, not required. But just having quickness and alacrity is massive. If you came from WoW, it'd be like having bloodlust all the time.
Right.
Kind of silly.
That
but
would be.
Anyway, in the game right this second, to have quickness for 10 people, you usually have like a firebrand or a scrapper in each of the 2 5-man groups because they can do it on 5 people. Alacrity, although there's some people that can give alacrity to 5 people, no one ever brings those because Renegade and Mirage can give alacrity to 10 people. Mm-hmm. So if you just have one of those in the raid, you're covered. Now, Renegade is the more popular choice, and the reason for that is they're a frickin' Swiss Army knife. Because it's like, you need stability. Dwarf stance, they put down that thing that looks like a road, everybody gets stability. They're still giving alacrity. Oh, this boss has boons, we forgot to bring necros because we're stupid. And then he's like, oh, demon stance, let me rip the boons off. And you're like, oh, we need to block projectiles, this guy casts gun. And he's like, oh, centaur stance. And then he just puts up that bubble and just like holds back all the projectiles and you take 0 damage, and he's still providing alacrity.
Right.
So they could do so many things that even if their stuff goes down to 5-man, I think they're still going to get into groups. I worry about the Mirages a little bit, but the Renegades are fine. The Renegades are fine. Now, the reason I very much am a promoter of this, like even back when I was first reading those patch notes, I got to that article, like, we're making changes to boons. I paused it. I was like, all right, guys, here's what I hope. Mm-hmm. And I immediately said, I hope they're taking 10-man buffs and making them to 5. And the reason I said that is they had already announced that Willbender and Spectre and what was the other one? Oh, Mechanist, the one I'm looking forward to. They had 5-man. Alacrity, and Spectre has like a mixture of many different boons, but it was all 5-man. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. If you already have a Mirage or a Renegade in a raid doing 10-man whatever, then the value of the Spectre, Willbender, or Mechanist just went down. Because they're like, oh, I bring 5-man alac. Well, we already have that covered. What else are you doing? Oh, well, I'm doing this stuff, but my damage is lower because I'm bringing alacrity. Well, we don't need that, so you're just a crappy DPS. You know, so And that's really it. They were a puzzle piece that wasn't needed in that combination. So the fact that they are removing that stuff, I think it's a good thing. I honestly I think it's a good thing. Also, and this kind of crosses over with another topic you may have wanted to touch on. I don't know, but there was the introduction of new sets of gear. Currently there's a set of gear commonly used by revenants, which is diviner's gear, and it has power, precision, ferocity. It has the bonk stats, and it also has concentration, which is the thing that keeps your boons up. So they give alacrity, and then they're just squeezing out as much damage as they can aside from that. There is no condition damage equivalent of that until now. One of the new sets of gear is the dot stats and then concentration. So, and I really worry that Necros are going to get out of hand with those. But, basically, you can now have Condi versions of people that pump out alacrity and quickness and also still be trying to squeeze out some respectable damage at the same time. Right. So I think that will open up a pool of people that were previously not allowed in groups because those other things were so much better, and now they're being tamped down a bit. Oh, that reminds me. So you mentioned earlier when I told you that Solaire had some other comments in that thread that you hadn't seen those other ones. There's one more I have up in front of me that he said that I think you might perk your ears up. Okay. So there was one person that asked him a question, and he answered it. He said, End of Dragon's launch update does have some tuning adjustments, just not full balance patch level of things like skill reworks. It includes some key adjustments to Firebrand, Scourge, and Renegade intended to tamp them down a little and help give new specs breathing room.
Oh, especially for Scourge.
So good. Yeah. So that is coming.
Huh. It's actually nice that he went through and answered people's questions, because I'd read the full post, but I didn't look at what the comments were, because I assumed that there would be the mixture of people being like kind of rude about it and taking it the wrong way, and then I assumed that other people would just be happy about they're actually conversating about what they're doing instead of just not and explaining things. So, that's fun. Actually,
I'll send you a link in case you want to look at it on your stream.
Yeah.
That is Solaire's posting history, which is short because he just made the account a few days ago.
Yeah,
but you can that link shows just his posts.
And I think someone confirmed it too, like Ruby or something. Like there was another post
so
that was
when he first posted the thing on Reddit, I actually was worried that it was just a really, really dedicated troll because he didn't have the badge.
Right.
And anyone could make an account called Anet Solaire. So I didn't spread any, spread news of it or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But then, 4 hours later on, there was a blog post or something where they're like, oh, yeah. And it was just a copy paste. And I was like, okay, I guess it's real.
Yeah. And actually, with talking about that and the differences and being able to bring in more diverse builds, essentially, and other things that people might not normally look for in raids, a couple of people were upset saying that it was homogenizing everything too much, kind of like they homogenized healers in World of Warcraft. And they think that if you had something that was already giving things like 10-man boons, that you should keep it, because when you take it away or scale it down to the same as everybody else, you're kind of taking away from the integrity of the class or build. And it's kind of like they're talking about boosting their strengths.
I can see both sides. There are some people that say that I've heard some game developers say that you should never solve a problem by nerfing. You should just solve it by buffing. But then it's there's got to be outliers, right? If you accidentally make one class completely out of hand, it's a lot easier to just fix that one class than boost the 8 others to match it, and then boost the world to match the new strength of these players. Yeah, so I don't know about that. Now granted, I keep referencing WoW because it is a game I played for 10 years. So I have a lot to draw from there.
Sure.
But, and WoW went through many, many iterations. But there was one around the middle of my playing time in that game that I really loved. And it was when they made it to where, for a long time, only a priest could give a hit point buff. Only a mage could give an int buff, which is both your mana pool and your spell power.
Yep.
And so on and so on. There was lots of things that was just, if you did not have any of this class in your raid that night, you didn't have that buff, and it hurt.
Yep.
It really hurt. And then later on, what did they do? They took that int buff and they also added it to the warlock's imp. And so if you had a warlock, but you didn't have a priest, you could be okay. You just had that warlock swap to a less ideal pet for the night.
Yep, and then lust for hunter pets. I don't remember which one gave it, but
the core hound had a skill called Ancient Hysteria. And I really loved what they did with the hunters. Basically, they took all these different things and put one on each of many different hunter pets. Now, unlike ranger pets in Guild Wars 2, the hunter in World of Warcraft had like 50 to 100 different pets if they caught them all. But it was like, oh, we don't have a shaman tonight, bring the core hound. Oh, we don't have battle res, bring the spore bat. Oh, we don't have a paladin tonight, bring the shale spider. They became a Swiss Army knife.
Yep.
And no matter which pet they used, their damage would stay the same because they streamlined it, which has pros and cons. But the utility of the pet, which each of them would have one utility button, you could fill in for a missing thing in your group. And so, it was such a sigh of relief when they did this, because, you had some guilds that just, by sheer luck of the draw, they could not find a good priest, or they could not find a good warlock, or whatever. No, and they didn't do that with everything. What do we have in our game? Aegis. No one besides Guardian is giving out Aegis like candy. They didn't suddenly ruin the integrity of Guardian by giving Aegis to everybody. I mean, no, there's still stuff that's unique about different classes. I'd be totally okay if they ruined the integrity of Guardian, by the way. There's plenty of stuff that certain classes can do that others can't. Only a couple of classes can remove boons on an enemy. Only one of them is really good at corrupting those boons. Necro, obviously. Only a few classes are good at pulling mobs. Doing the Cold War strike mission, there's mobs everywhere. It is so much easier if you have a Necro using Spectral Grasp and just pulling everything together and doing an impression of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
It makes it so much easier. And there's a lot of weird utility like that I think a lot of people forget about when they're just ranting and raving about the top DPS on, raid boss number 72.
But that was...
I feel like I keep talking too much. I feel like I should apologize for that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're completely fine. It's really great because you're actually going into and explaining, which is what I want for people that might not know. But yeah, people were talking about taking away the integrity, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not like WoW where they were like, we don't think that these things have class fantasy, so we're gonna prune all of these abilities. Like, you're still gonna have those things, you're just not going to be necessarily dominant at them to have room for other classes and builds, which I don't think is bad. But
and there's
really
still some key differences. Like, even just talking, you mentioned supports a little while ago. Like, even just talking about supports, it's like, okay, well, the Firebrand, which is certainly the most popular one, good at healing. They can do stability in a pinch, resistance in a pinch, block projectiles, reflect projectiles, and they provide quickness to their group. Okay, Tempest, way more healing per second. Like if healers were cars, the Tempest is a Mustang. Like, they could just floor the gas pedal. It's like an angry water sprinkler, and just everyone feels amazing. That is the worst metaphor I've ever said. I'm sorry. So the Tempest does not do quickness. I don't think they could do stability. Way more healing, and they have an elite skill called Rebound, which is basically the group decides not to die. You can ignore boss mechanics by just going, I cast Rebound, just stand in it, and then you all get one shot and get back up and just keep going. Like, you can there's a strategy for Cardinal Adina. It's like, we got 2 Tempests, we don't have to do any of the mechanics. We just keep rebounding. Druid, they good healing, no quickness, no stability, spirits, and they can do 25 might on 10 people. Maybe that will become 5, but currently they can do it on 10. Also, druids are the king of knockback and immobilize. There's a lot of raid bosses where we need to keep that thing away from us. Druids have multiple ways of knocking it back and rooting it to the ground. That's unique to them. However, druids as a support suck in PvP. If you're in PvP as a druid, you're usually a side noder, or you're like a 1 versus 1 specialist. You're not a healer. But the Tempest and Firebrand work amazingly in PvP. I mean, there's a lot more supports.
Sure.
But my point is, there's still a lot of differences between them.
Mm-hmm. And I think, too, one of the things that really stood out to me was that they said, so each group will need a healer and someone that provides alacrity and someone that provides quickness. And so it kind of came off a little bit more of not necessarily a group that has a trinity, and if you want to play that way, that's totally cool, but a group that actually really needs those things. And I don't know how you feel about that, or how other people feel about it, because it's not necessarily... Guild Wars 2 to me has been like, yes, there are things that are meta, and there are certain things that you absolutely should have, although it's not necessary. But for that to be in a blog post that's like, you will have a healer, you will have someone who provides quickness, and you will have someone that provides alacrity. Words.
I would say that I don't remember the wording of that section of the blog post, but I will say that for 99% of players, I agree with it. Mm-hmm. And something to remind, anyone who considers themselves the average player is, I want to remind you, you can combine those roles. Mm-hmm. Like when, one thing I played during the beta, rather than talk about a beta class, let me talk about one that's tried and true. I gave the earlier example of a heal brand, which is a fire brand who's a healer, but they also provide quickness for their group. Okay, well, that's two of the things you said. Right. So then you find someone who gives alacrity, Mirage, Renegade, whatever, and then you get 3 DPS. That boom, you're done. Mm-hmm. Looking at the new things, Willbender provides alacrity. So the Willbender would be a DPS and a source of alacrity for your party at the same time. Right. It's not that complicated to get this stuff together. You don't have to think of it as, we have to get a quickness and a lack and a healer, and then there's only 2 DPS slots left. No, you got to remember, there's role compression. You can have one person do multiple things sometimes. Right. Heck, some of the most fun I've had in this game was tanking a boss while also being one of the 2 healers in the raid, while also being in charge of boons. It was kind of stressful, but it was a lot of fun for me. And right. we killed the boss, and that was that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that... So in the past, I've seen that, or at least from like older blog posts and changes that have been made, that certain things have been changed or reversed based on how the community felt about it. Do you think they'll change anything from this blog post if there is anyone that continues to rant about it?
It's hard to say. The reason I say that is, so I've been an active content creator for this game for nearly 3 years, but the game itself has been out for nearly 10. There was a very large window of time there that was before my time. And when it comes to that stuff, from what I understand, looking back through the sacred texts, there was very much long windows of time where there was just complete radio silence. Right. Like a year between PvP patches, stuff like that, where it seemed like each patch had nothing to do with the previous one because they were so far apart. It certainly wasn't a knee-jerk reaction to whiny people or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Heck, they were like, oh man, is that OP? All right, we'll look at that next January. And, and then everybody's just yelling into a void. It's rather recent that we have been seeing a much higher level of communication. And I hope it continues. It's wonderful. But at the same time, it's hard to say what will happen because, if we're being honest, this has been a fairly short stint. Mm-hmm. I hope it continues. But we don't really have a lot of track record of them doing a patch and then doing another one because of something went wrong that's in the last one. I think from what I've seen, they've been too far apart to really accuse them of that.
Right. Yeah, I was just, because people were saying, they'll probably change it because they've been better with community things. And I'm like, I haven't really seen that. And if they have made a change, it hasn't been right after. But sure, if that's how you feel. And before, those were most of the questions I had. But before I go, someone asked me to ask you how you feel about Bram and what this debate video or something or other was, because I haven't seen it yet. But I've seen Laura posting about Bram. Just how your feelings about Bram. And I haven't finished Icebrood, so no spoilers about Icebrood yet. Although... Wait,
I have to tell you how I feel about Bram, but I can't tell you about his war crimes?
Well, yeah. I do know. I don't know if you were in stream today when I talked about this. So I had I was trying to theory craft, and I was like, so even though Bram is getting better, I think that he will like somehow side with Primordus because his rage about Jormag would be so much like, you know, he thinks that that's his legend, is to slay Jormag and everything for, you know, heir and everyone. And it was just a hunch. I was just talking about it. I was bullshitting for my, I'm sorry. I was not sorry. I was being silly with what I said. I know, I'm sorry. PG stream. And I was actually
No, I'm just trying to think of how to answer this without spoiling it for you.
I was looking at minis, and I did see that there is one that says Bram, it's like champion of Primordus or something like that. I don't exactly remember, but I saw it, and I was like, oh.
Okay, I'm going to say this as vaguely as possible.
Okay.
Let's say you got someone. We'll just call him Bram for sake of example. Let's say you got someone. They're meaning well, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're on the front line of your war effort. But they're incompetent. They throw a grenade, it bounces off a tree, and it takes out 20 of your own men. And you're like, all right, look, soldier, I know that you mean well, but we cannot have you up front. You go make swords or something. Go to the blacksmith. We got to get you away from the front, all right? Mm-hmm. For some reason, we have not had that talk with Bram after like 18 such occasions. That my beef with Bram is like, it's like, okay, and Loranity is the debate person. Loranity is like, oh yeah, he means no. Loranity is in love with his chiseled chin. Okay, like she's like, he's a pretty boy, I forgive him of everything. It's like, woman, he has got a body count of our allies more than most dragons. You need to get the sparkle out of your eyes and calm down.
Yeah,
that's the problem with Bram. And she's like, oh, he means well. Yeah, he does, but that excuse works once. Okay, like he should not be anywhere near a sharp object or a friend, especially not at the same time. So that's the thing. Laura's wrong. She is blinded by pretty Norns and is not looking at the big picture.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that too, because I just did I finished Living World Season 4 episode 4 today, and there's a portion where like Air and Snaff are in the mist and they help you fight, and then Bram's talking
good.
to
I could
Air.
talk about that. Yeah. Even his own mother didn't want to
Yeah,
talk
that's
to
what
him.
I was gonna say. She's just like, he's like, can we be better? Can we try to make this work? And she's like, I'm dead. Do you not understand? And also, these people have dealt with you for however long, and you keep being kind of dumb. So maybe you should stop being kind of dumb.
There's a running joke that Air, like when she had him, she left Bram with whoever Bram's father was and went off to fight dragons because it was safer.
That's mean.
I mean, she's still dead, but she might have lived longer. Who knows?
But no, it was funny because that came up, and then someone was like, oh, when you do the podcast later with Muck, you should ask about it, because they were just talking about it, and there was a whole debate with Loranity, and I was like, okay. And then the other one was that you had finally PvP'd as a mesmer, and I don't know, what is your beef about that? Like, because you're like, I feel dirty or something like that.
I feel like someone in your audience watched a whole bunch of my recent funny videos and was like, oh yeah, here's some sore spots. Just all of these. Just take a cheese grater to them, put some lemon juice in it. Okay, mesmer. All right. Mm-hmm. So here's my deal with mesmer. Let's say you take two players that are silver 1 in PvP. Okay, their skill is that of a silver 1 person. One plays warrior, one plays guardian. Mm-hmm. And then the warrior is just like, I'm going to try out mesmer. He has no idea what he's doing yet. He's just trying it out. He's mashing buttons. He's going, huh? He's making Naruto noises. There's clones running everywhere. He doesn't even know which one is him. He's in gold 1 by the end of the day, and he hasn't learned anything. And the reason for that is most people in this game do not know how to handle 40 pink wizards running at them. All right? Like, he doesn't even have to know which one he's playing. It's just they all just run forward screaming, and then the other guy's screaming, and everyone's screaming, and then they're dead. And yeah, it's horrifying. So in PvP, I hate them because it's basically a skill booster. You just get thrown into the next bracket because you're just rocking the lower level people as a mesmer without any idea what you're doing. In PvE, I hate them because there's a reputation. Okay, it's not that all mesmers are bad people. It's that all bad people are mesmers. I want to make sure that I phrase that correctly. Okay?
Sure.
But what it is they have this reputation at the end of world boss events that they'll make a portal and they'll put it under the treasure chest. And they'll put the other, I don't know how they do it, but they put the other end in like hell or something. And it's like you go up and you hit F to click the chest and you accidentally click the portal and then you like fall through the world. And in the worst case scenario, it zones you out of the map that you just completed the meta in. And then you can't even get the loot. And so it's like anytime you're walking up to a chest and you hear those mesmer portal noises, it's freaking red alert, all hands on deck battle stations, you need to watch out. You click that chest with your mouse carefully, you do not touch the keyboard because there's a bad one afoot. Or you wait 20 seconds if you don't trust yourself. But yeah, there's the bad PvP mesmers, there's the bad PvE mesmers. There's probably one or two that's fine, I haven't met them.
I've never heard of that happening. Like, I'm sure it does, but I don't think I've ever had anyone else complain about it.
Divine 8 p.m. Eastern every day, you'll meet 1 or 10.
It does remind me, though, of, like, when you would ask a mage back in the day for WoW to make a portal somewhere, and they would either, like, put all of the portals on it, and you would somehow get to, like, the Dalaran crater and fall all the way to your doom, or you're just not paying attention to where the portal's supposed to go, and it's, and it's just not where you want it to go. Awesome.
Another one I saw in Alterac Valley Prep Room was a mage would pretend to be a warlock, and he would open a portal and be like, hey, help me summon my friend, because warlocks could do ritual of summoning. And anyone that ran up and clicked on it would get zoned out of the battleground and be put at the back of the queue.
Yep.
And it would just shuffle the players. They just did it to troll.
People have too much time on their hands.
They'd be like, yeah, it's an IQ check. Our team is smarter now. Ha ha ha, la 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 la.
But since this is going to be for a YouTube video, I know everybody knows where to find you here and has gotten your updates and such. But if you want to give an update on Mukluk Labs, since it's been a while since we've talked about it, it was like in construction and just starting to be released since we talked about that. So if you have any updates to that, and then where everybody can find you after that too.
Sure. So obviously, if you're watching this live, you might be on my channel right now, and this part's going to seem really silly. But if you're watching this on Xandrii's channel later, my name is Mukluk Douglas Bartholomew Reginald Esquire the Fourth, and I stream every day on twitch.tv/Mukluk. My YouTube channel is Mukluk YouTube, not just Mukluk, because they make shoes, and they had the name first. So Mukluk YouTube for the Guild Wars 2 guides, stuff like that. Now Mukluk Labs, that's mukluklabs.com, is a website I made that on YouTube I just have this big old playlist of 100+ Guild Wars 2 guides, and it was a mess. I couldn't take a broom to it. So Mukluk Labs it's more organized. Like, you know, you can click raids, you can click strikes, fractals, whatever you need guides for, and they're much more neatly organized with notes in the margins, because sometimes stuff changes after you make a video. So rather than just make an entire new video, I could just, you know, add notes there on like, oh, hey, you know, once you get to this step, you could skip it. They actually remove that step, things like that. Right. So yeah, it's updated daily with all the stuff I work on, which is both guides and also stuff I do for fun, like the comedy themed videos and stuff like that. If you are someone that has the correct sense of humor, I think you would enjoy it.
the correct sense of humor? Dare I ask what that is?
From my humble point of view. If you think my stuff's good stuff, you got the right one.
Well, thank you for taking the time and doing this on stream so that it matches everything. I really appreciate it. It cleared a lot up for me as well, and I think it'll help people that don't necessarily know about like the severity of Mystic coins going away from challenge mode fractals. So I do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, I do think it's unfortunate because I don't think it was necessary, especially based on the data they gave us at the end. I don't think it was necessary. I think it's unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to do any lasting damage. Do I wish they didn't do it? Yeah, I wish they didn't do it, but I don't think it's going to break anything. So yeah, I think a lot of people are overreacting. And could they have handled it better? Also, yes, but we'll see what happens after this.
Yeah. I appreciate it. And for anyone that wants to check... this is kind of silly to ask on stream as well, but did you record too? Or are you planning on recording the or
You said, did you
using the
record
VOD
too?
for
And
the
then,
podcast. Did you
well,
record
yeah, I
everything
was,
as well?
if you were okay with it, I was going to turn
Yeah.
this into a highlight
Okay. I
after
just
the
wanted
stream.
to make
Because
sure.
I'm, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
wanted to make sure
I,
because I forgot to mention it at the beginning of stream, and I know we've talked about it before, but I was like, oh crap, I didn't mention it.
yeah, so since I'm
Okay.
streaming, I was just going to use the highlighter at the end to cut it
Yeah.
out, if you were cool with it.
And I misspoke because I'm only recording and not streaming, so I'm like, yeah, did you record too? Yay. But I should have this up by tomorrow morning. So yeah. My internet is really great, woodsy Wisconsin internet now. So before I was in my apartment, and now I'm in a house with 12 acres of pines surrounding. And yeah, so it'll literally be, I can start uploading it right after this, and it won't be up until tomorrow morning. So
Well, let's do even Stevens then, since I'm loosely getting permission to post it as well. If anyone watching this on my side doesn't know who you are, why don't you shill for yourself as well?
oh, snap. Yeah. So, hi guys, I'm Zan. I saw a lot of people coming in and asking who I am. I don't know if that's something that I'm really proud of with chat, because I'm like, oh, you don't know who I am? No, but I have just started playing Guild Wars 2 in the past year, and I've been taking it super slow, having a lot of fun with it. But I do stream daily on Twitch as well, except for the weekends, Saturday and Sunday I don't, to have some time with the fam. But it's at twitch.tv/Xandrii, and then I usually put all of my reactions or podcasts or anything like that, first impressions of stuff, on YouTube as well. So it's youtube.com/Xandrii, TEH Xandrii. Or if you want to say Tech Xandrii, that works too. But yeah,
I'll have a link to it in the description as well.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you
I
so
heard
much.
she's even tried Final Fantasy once or twice.
I have. I went back to do the Endwalker MSQ, and I got, I think the majority of my comments were, so you're not playing Guild Wars 2 anymore? And I'm like, no, that's not, like, this is content that just comes out. I'm doing the story, then I'm going to come back and finish what I'm doing. And people are like, oh, well, you fell off the Guild Wars 2 radar. So I wasn't sure. And to me, I took that as a shot, because I'm like, I did what now? You think I've been posting content and it just hasn't been seen? You fell off
There's another content creator that I watch named Josh Dreyfus, and he finally made a video, because he's like, yeah, in it he's ranting. He's like, I play Skyrim. People are like, oh, you never playing Dragon Age again? I play Dragon Age. And you're like, oh, you never playing Mortal Kombat again? I play Mortal Kombat. You're like, oh, are you never playing MMOs again? He's like, it doesn't matter what I play. It's, why aren't you playing anything else? And he's like, he's like, so you know what? Yes, I'm done with everything else forever. Until I happen to be playing that again. Leave me alone. Shut up.
I'm
and then, like, just
surprised,
anytime anyone asks, are you playing blah, 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 he's like, oh, click this link. And it goes to that video of him ranting.
I'm honestly surprised if he even has a chance to go back and revisit something, because of the amount of MMOs and RPGs that he covers. So I'm just like, that's really incredible. But and I love all of his NFT talk as well, which I think is really funny. I think he had a post today.
He loves NFTs. He
Yeah.
loves them.
He's like, I thought being like a famous YouTuber, I'd get all like the sexy ladies and all of these things, and I'd have so many fans, but no, I delete like thousands of NFT emails daily. And I'm like, wow, I wish I was cool enough to get thousands of NFT emails daily.
See, I'm fortunate. I think it's like if you mention it in the wrong circle, you get on like a mailing list within that entire community. Because I remember when Mighty Teapot, he made a joke on Twitter. There was the whole thing about memeing onions in Guild Wars 2.
Yep.
And he made a joke about onion NFTs. And boom, he got hit with like dozens or maybe even hundreds of tweets like asking him if he was interested in this or that NFT. And he's like, oh crap, I'm on their mailing list. And I'm just like, okay, don't touch that word. That is the forbidden word.
Yep.
On my Twitter, that will be the N word, NFT. I'm not saying that word. Because then I'm gonna start getting slammed.
That, or anything about like logos with artwork too. I was excited because I'd been drawing some stuff, and I threw some stuff up on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I'm really proud of this. Like, this is my new logo. Check it out. And I had people going, oh, you want me to vectorize that for you? You want me to make you logo? And I'm like, no, I made the logo. It's right there. Like, are you a bot? What do you mean?
Yeah,
So.
I've had a couple of those as well. There was one. I have a fella who is helping me make thumbnails recently to try to get some of the work off of my shoulders. And I posted a tweet, and I said like, "LOL, we had a mishap with this thumbnail," and I said the word thumbnail, and I was like with this guy that I was looking at hiring full time to help me with this, and I guess because I said like hired and thumbnail and like those words,
Yep.
it was like there was a bunch of what was clearly bots. The guy was like, "You want thumbnails? Only $1.99." And I'm like, yeah, the block. So just stop it. You're creeping me out. You're not even human.
Exactly. And that's what I had too. And then I made a joke about it, and then people were mad. Like, the people who had, like, those bot accounts were like, well, we work off of commission, and it's very tough to, advertise and manage. And I'm like,
you should have been like, me too. Click here.
I know.
I work off commission too. Click here.
But I don't want to take up too much of your time or your stream, and you're doing a giveaway as well, so thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, and for squeezing me in to talk about this on stream. And it, like I said, it's cleared up a lot for me, and hopefully it'll clear up some stuff for other people, and it should be up tomorrow morning. So, and yes, I do the thumbs up thing quite a bit. Someone in chat was like, she does thumbs up like me. I do it quite a bit. One of my favorite movies is Wayne's World, and so like I do the face a lot.
Oh wow, that's a blast
like,
from the past.
But thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you guys for hanging out. So I'm gonna eat.
It was fun. Thank you for making it easy on me and joining me during the very late segment. I feel like I'm one of the only content creators that's usually live at this time, so it made things a lot easier for me that you were able to do that.
Yeah, no, but you still had like the stream earlier and everything and all of the YouTube content too, so I appreciate it. But thank you. Bye, guys.
Have a good one.